Welcome to the new series where we learn about the latest LangChain with Node.js. This video is a quick startup guide. Here we will focus on the chat models. First, we will set up the environment with API keys and LangSmith. Then we will interact with the OpenAI models, Anthropic Claude models, Google Gemini models, and a few open source models with the Groq service, which is pretty much the fastest AI inference service there is. And it has a generous free tier that is more than sufficient for learning and experimentation. And last but not least, we will create a simple chatbot that will allow us to carry a conversation with one of our models. Now, please remember, I'm dropping this video to test the water a bit. I'll only continue building this series if and only if a lot of people watch this and hit the like button. Otherwise, I will discontinue it and go about building other things. That said, let's get cracking. All right, so for this course, we're going to be using this platform called StackBlitz. This is a coding environment in the cloud, which is pretty fantastic. And all you need is a GitHub account to get in. It has a free tier, and let's click right here, sign in, and that's it. You use your GitHub account, and once you do, you end up here. This kind of environment where you have a command prompt where you can run things and you create your files. It's pretty much almost exactly like VS Code, right? You can create your folders and whatnot. Here, as you can see, I have already created a .env file where all of my API keys and such. This example one exactly looks like that, except for the API keys have been dotted out. And as you can see here, I have OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and Groq API key. And this group here helps us to connect to our LangSmith account. Just remember this line right here, latest LangChain with Node.js. So once we have this in our .env file and we load up our environment variables in our file, we automatically connect to LangSmith. As soon as we invoke something here, it shows up right here. This is our LangSmith portal. And to see all our list of things, you can go right here. And as you can see, latest LangChain with Node.js. This is from whenever I was preparing for this course. And to have a fresh start, we're going to go ahead and delete this one. All right, let's check it out. Refresh. And that's gone. So now we're ready to go. Let's go back. Okay, so now that we have all the environment variables ready, and let's check what node we have available. All right, 18.20.3, which is great. And this index.js file is where we're going to write our code. And before we get started, we're going to need to install these libraries. Let's go with one by one. LangChain and .env. .env will help us load up our environment variables in our file. So let's start running them. All right, that's done. Let's do OpenAI. Now let's go for Anthropic, Google Gen AI, and last but not least, the Groq. All right, so we are good to go. So let's verify everything by looking at our package.json. And as you can see, all of the libraries are installed with their corresponding version number. Now that we're ready, let's bring in our first code sample. All right, so we brought in .env/config and chat OpenAI from LangChain. Let's save that. And one thing to remember, for these imports to work, you have to make a small change here saying type module. the type module is very important. Otherwise, these imports are not going to work. Okay, so now let's bring in our model. All right, so we brought in our model function. Let's save that. It's chat OpenAI, and 2 arguments go in, which is model and temperature. And as a model, we're using GPT-4o mini. And temperature, I try to set it in the middle, because if you get it too low, it sometimes just refuses to answer, or if you get too high, it just bullshits all the time. So 0.5 I found to be a nice little middle ground, right? So now that we have our LLM created by invoking this chat OpenAI class, now we're going to go ahead and await this LLM.invoke. And something about this LLM is, in LangChain lingo, we call this object a runnable. So the runnables are the ones which we can implement by using .invoke function. And here in this function, as an argument, we just put in our message text. As in here, we're just asking it, what LLM are you? And here, first, we're going to take a look at the full result, the whole data structure, what it comes to, right? That being done, let's run this. Node.index, let's run it. All right, look at that hideous thing. Whole thing is the reply from AI. All sorts of data in it, but only thing we're looking for is content, right? So what we're going to do, let's clear the screen. And we're going to just go ahead and change this guy. We're just going to add dot content and save it. Now let's run this with the same question. Boom, there you go. I am based on OpenAI GPT-3 model, blah, 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 right? So it just gave us its answer. Now let's try the next model. All right, so we just brought in O1 mini this time. This is the latest and the greatest. Let's save it. All right, so let's ask it the same question, see what it does. All right, so we hit our first bump here. It's saying temperature is not accepted here. So, and I have to say something about this O1. O1, it just doesn't do a whole bunch of things that other models do. That's why right now it is not usable to build any apps. For example, O1 cannot use tools, neither can it use templates, none of those good stuff. So let's disable this, and you will also see that it's significantly slower than the other one. So let's run that. See how long it's taking just to answer this simple question. So it is not really worth much at the moment. So now that we have tested with our chat OpenAI models, let's move to Anthropic. All right, so okay, now we just brought in chat Anthropic class, and with a new keyword, we just instantiate this class with 2 attributes, model and temperature. And this time we're going to try the Claude 3 Haiku, which is a smaller model. And the same way, we're going to ask it, what LLM are you? And this time we're not going to look at the big hideous result object. We're just going to bring in result.content. And let's save it first. Okay. Now let's go ahead and run it. All right, look at that. AI created by Anthropic, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure exact details, blah, blah, blah. And it was developed using Anthropic's constitutional AI approach, whatever that is. That being done, let's bring in my second most favorite model, which is Claude Sonnet 3.5. All right, so Claude Sonnet 3.5 is here. Now let's save that. And this guy is famous for his exceptional coding ability. So let's ask him a different question. Write me a simple JavaScript, right? Let's go ahead and clear the screen and run that. There you go. So that's what I meant. We're going to need a little bit bigger space. So as you can see, just wrote a nice little JavaScript with all that explanation, etc., etc. We are very impressed, right? Clear the screen. And now that we have seen how Chat Anthropic functions, let's move to Google Gemini. All right, so now we have Chat Google Generative AI function brought in. It's basically a class, and this class we instantiate with the new keyword, and this time we're putting in the model Gemini 1.5 Pro, which used to be their latest and the greatest not too long ago, but the new kid is on the block, which is 2.0. We're going to bring that in next, and temperature 0.5, and the max output token 2048. Now we're going to ask him the same question, which LLM are you? And we're going to go ahead and run this. All right, very succinct answer. I'm a large language model trained by Google. Very nice. Let's ask him another question. All right, so let's ask him, are you a multimodal model? I mean, image, video, etc. So let's see what he says. Let's clear the screen, run it again. All right, it's a large language model, but cannot directly process images or videos, etc., etc. All right, so in that case, let's bring in the latest version of Gemini, which is 2.0, and they claim that guy is capable of doing all that. So let's check that out. All right, so we just brought in Gemini 2.0 Flash EXP. That's the new model. So ask him this question, multimodal model or not. Let's clear the screen. And of course, let's not forget to save it. There you go. Let's run it. All right, he wrote a book. There you go. So, all right, so he's also saying he does not have direct ability to process images or videos, but he does have a breakdown as to some other way he actually can interpret some of the stuff, even though Google is claiming that this is their multimodal model, right? Anyway, probably he doesn't know what he's capable of, right? We have seen that in the past. So let's now switch gear and check out the Groq service to see if we can tap into a few of those open source models. All right, so before we get started with the Groq, let me give you a nice little tour to their portal. This is the service. This is where I come to collect my API key, and they have a nice little playground, and these are all the open source models you can have access to using this service. Very fast, and you can have documentations here. The matrix, I don't use it so much. So API key, from here you can have multiple of them. And then settings, here you can go to the usage, and they're going to show you. And so far, that's what they're charging me, even though I did not give them any credit card or anything. So this is pretty much, I'm going free. And these are the models I've been using so far, just recently. I mean, honestly, I don't really depend on or use open source models so much because they suck. Anyway, so just wanted to show you. Now let's get back. All right, so let's save this. We're going to bring in Mixtral and Chat Groq class and instantiate it with temperature 0 just for fun, and ask it, what LLM are you? And temperature 0 means the least possible creativities. That means it has to be super honest. Okay, so now let's run this. Boom, there you go. And look at this idiot. He thinks LLM means master of laws. I mean, which used to be that way, but nowadays anybody says LLM, we all know what we mean, right? So this idiot open source couldn't even answer the basic question. But one of them that I truly sometimes use would be the Llama 3.3 7 billion versatile. Let's bring that in. All right, so Llama 3.3 7B versatile is here. And let's save this guy. And let's ask him the same question. Oh, look at that. Very smart and succinct answer. I'm an artificial intelligence model known as Llama and created by large language model Meta AI. Very nice. Let's ask him one more question. All right, so let's ask him, do you know what company Meta used to be called? Right, that's their parent company. So let's see what he says. All right, Facebook. That's all we need to know. Very nice and succinct answer. Now, if you're going to be working on anything using open source products, go with this guy. That said, now that we have tested pretty much all 4 categories, now let's go check our LangSmith portal. There you go. Remember the last one we deleted. So this one is nothing but us. This video, all these stuff are just our conversation. Chat Groq right here. And from latency to token usage to times, everything, metadata, all that can be available, and it's excellent for troubleshooting purposes. And Gemini did this. There you go, the full answer. And Chat Anthropic. There you go. It even nicely gave us that code snippet that it wrote. And last but not least, the chat OpenAI, and how many tokens and what price, etc., etc., all the details. That being said, let's go create our chatbot. All right, so this is where we're gonna write our simple chatbot, and it's gonna be divided into 3 different groups: our imports, our LLM, and our chatbot code. Okay, so let's bring in the imports. All right, so .env, we know what that does. Chat OpenAI, we know also what that does. Now the read line, we are bringing in from Node.js default libraries read line, just so that we can use it to take user input from the command prompt, right? And also this, from the node processes, we're bringing in standard input and standard output to manage our conversation, our CLI or command line interface. Okay, so now let's bring in our model. There you go. Bringing in that chat OpenAI class, and as an attribute model, GPT-4o mini, my favorite, and the temperature 0.7 with a little bit extra creativity in there. And now let's bring in the chatbot. All right, let's save it first. Okay, so here this is just a beginning headline where it's gonna let us know that chat assistant has begun, and it's gonna tell us that you can type in exit to get out of the infinite loop that we're about to create. And now let's go, and here this is the readline function that we just pulled in, and readline dot create interface, and this is where we're gonna put in input and output from right here, std in, std out, to this read line, so that it can handle input output on our CLI or command line interface. After that, we create a function called chat loop. It's an async function. Inside it, we're going to have a while true loop or an infinite loop, so that our conversation can go on and on however long we might see fit. And once it starts, we're going to go ahead and give the user an input prompt saying you, and that's going to be rl.question, and then you. It's going to go ahead and wait for users to put their input in there, and then put it in this user prompt. And then this guy is the exit clause that we put in. Since this is an infinite loop, we have to have a way to get out of that loop, right? So anytime we feel like we're done with our chat or conversation, we're going to type in exit, and it's going to kick us out of that loop saying goodbye, right? Now let's go see what's happening. What are we doing with this user input? Simply, we're getting a result by invoking that model. that model we just created all the way up here. See, this is the model with Chat OpenAI. We are going to go ahead and use the user prompt to invoke it, so that every time you ask a question, a model is going to be invoked with whatever you say as the message and get us the AI response in this result. And then we're going to go ahead and console log that as assistant, as AI answer result.content. And that's what we have been doing so far. Only difference is this time is going to go on in a loop, right? And also we put a whole thing in the try catch logic, so that if there is an error, it's going to just console log the error out, right? And then in the end, we added console.log a dash repeat 50 times. So every conversation that finishes, we're going to have a nice little, straight line to separate the conversation from each other. And in the end, chat loop, we just basically invoke this function. So now that we saw what it does, let's take it for a ride. I'm going to keep this visible because that's where all the answers are coming. So now let's go and invoke it. Boom, there you go. Hey, how are you? Oh, he doesn't have feeling, etc., etc. That's great. What LLM are you? All right, let's ask him, who is Sam Altman? Let's see if he says daddy or not. American entrepreneur, investor, blah, 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 OpenAI co-founder, etc., etc. Now, let's have some fun. Can you please talk like Donald Trump? Oh, there you go. Let me tell you, nobody knows about talking blah, 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 blah. We are making great conversation, just fantastic, tremendous words, really, blah, 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 blah. So, yep, you did it. You are awesome. All right, so now we can just exit out and be done with it. So one more time, let's look at the whole code. Here are our imports: Chat OpenAI, readline, std in as input, std out as output, and Chat OpenAI class is here. We invoked it with GPT-4o mini as a model, temperature 7, and then we went ahead and created a readline interface called RL, so that we can communicate via the command line, and then created this chat loop. And here we just rl.question, which sets up our user interface, which intakes the user input. And then this is our exit clause from this infinite loop to get out of this conversation. And then we simply invoked our model with user input taken from us at the command prompt and replied back as assistant result.content. We handled error like this with the try catch, and in the end we just used a dashed line to separate the conversations and invoked the function at the very end, thus created our chatbot. That, my friends, I finish this video. Hope to create more only if you guys like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.